Great. Well, welcome to the October meeting of the Simsbury Technology Task Force. The first item on the agenda is, first, I guess we should do the pledge.
Yes, let's do that. Okay.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, undivided, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Next agenda item is approval of the meeting minutes from the last meeting. We did not have a meeting in September. The last meeting, I believe, was that June?
The last meeting that we have minutes for, we've actually got April minutes and May minutes in your packet, because I think in May we didn't have a quorum, so we did not approve April yet, April or May.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Great. Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. This is John.
Okay. Meeting minutes are approved.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is really around this meeting, the format, how often we meet. There was a discussion that, was questioning whether, how often do we really need to meet? And a proposal was given to have us meet really when the town needs us for something, rather than to meet monthly just to meet. I'm interested in people's thoughts around that.
The only opinion I would have is similar to what we did for the summer, is essentially have scheduled meetings and cancel them if we didn't need them. So I'm inclined to even look at that, but maybe we could do like every other month and still go with that format.
Yeah, I agree with Harold. I mean, it's easier for me to have something on my calendar, so to have something set for every month, and if we cancel, we cancel. I'm up for every other month too, if it warrants that, and then more frequently as needed.
I was just going to relay, Rick's not here, is he, Melissa?
He's off today. He's not here.
Okay. When this came up, we asked Rick, the value of the task force, just to weigh in if he needed us kind of sitting there, every month or every 2 months. And he uses us as a step in the whatever process or project that he's working on. Right now, he said there was nothing really on the docket for technology, although anything could come up at any time. And that one of the options presented was to set up a quarterly meeting, and that if he needed us on a project, we could be called in as kind of an advisory group, or even, I think, Evan, you had mentioned you'd like to have at least a quarterly on the calendar. And then Rick had said he would also like to be an as needed, need-based group that he could call us in if he had a specific project. So that was just another item that, another option rather than just have it on the meeting, because I think, Melissa has to go through some work, right, to put the meeting on the calendar, to schedule it, to make sure are we televised? I guess we're streaming, right? To stream us and things like that. So to cancel those is probably, I don't know if it's better or worse to not have to do that and to just have like a set, quarterly meeting.
So I guess I'll ask are quarterly meetings acceptable with additionals as needed?
Yeah. No, that sounds fine.
That was me.
Okay. So I make a motion that we move to a quarterly meeting format with giving the town IT manager the ability to call other month meetings as needed, if needed.
How much time is needed to call a meeting?
I would say 2 weeks minimum, because there needs to be time to set up the meeting, set up the live stream, and get people. And I would say we would use probably the same day and time. I would keep the first Monday at 5:30.
Yeah, we can definitely do our best to, and I can relate it to Rick that the preference would be to have ample notice, preferably 2 weeks. If anything is time sensitive, and I know, things have popped up in the past where he's called on you guys last minute for things. And, we just need a day. I think it's 24 hours actually to be able to notice. If it's virtual, 48 hours to notice a special meeting. So if anything, truly time sensitive came up, we could hopefully accommodate that. But I will let him know that the preference would be, at least 2 weeks notice for a more special meeting. That way, if there's anything he needs you to review, he can get that to you ahead of time as well.
But I would just like to weigh in too. I would like to hear, people want to continue. Like I'm just on the board of selectmen, so I'm happy to come to the meetings as a liaison. But you guys have been together for I don't know how many years, right? So it would be interesting to see if the need was felt to continue to meet monthly. My perspective as kind of an outsider is a lot of the meetings, when we had a project, it was great, but when there was no project, it was just meeting to say we had no project, and then to just disband. So that seemed like a lot of, movement on all of our parts to not go anywhere with that. But I know, Mike, you've been on for a while, and, Paul, you guys have all been on, I think, for a while, and John. So I'd be interested to just hear a little bit more.
Your point of, when there's something for us to work on, right? The meetings come in really handy. As of late, we have not seemed to have had many projects coming down the pike. We were the last few meetings were reviewing policies that we've just really drafted within the last couple of years. So, there's probably a lot of things that we could be doing, but I think we would need some meetings on the calendar to be able to come up with what those potential things that we should be working on are. And it would be a bummer to move to a quarterly format and then go into that process and go, oh, wow, there's a ton of work here. And then, re-noticing to switch it back to a monthly process. I'm not opposed to it at all, but, I between all the, compliance stuff and all the exposure that's out there in the world, because the bad guys are trying to find a way in. There's got to be stuff that we should be working on that we're not working on right now. In my humble opinion.
Maybe split the difference instead of 3 months, go for 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, whatever the time frame is so long. If there's no work to be done, then there's no need to have anything on the books. But
but you won't know that. Probably easier to cancel than trying to schedule something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So if we go bi-monthly, and then if we have something to work on, we could set up subgroups to meet on the in-between weeks. I like that.
Yeah, that would, so Evan, this is Paul. So I think, and I assume Bill's on the call too. I mean, we were doing all of the shared services work. Most of that was done with a subcommittee of, I don't know, what we have, four or so, Bill, that met, I guess, off cadence. and then just report it out when we met, whether that was monthly or. So I think, that format or framework will work fine. It's just a question of what we think the appropriate, cadence would be for a regularly scheduled meeting, whether it's every other month or quarterly.
Yeah, I kind of look at it saying we're kind of operating at the need of the town, and we're not here to create work for folks. We're here only to help. And if we're into a patch where there's not a lot of demand, I've got no problem going to either an every other month or quarterly and being there to respond when the town needs us.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Is we are here for the town for expenditures in IT.
We don't really hear you, Evan.
You needed our assistance. Sorry. Let me dial back in.
It's too bad Rick's not here too, because he could probably shed light on his thoughts.
Yeah, I think I don't want to speak for him, and I think Wendy, you articulated it well, is that this group is so valuable to him as a sounding board, and more than that when it comes to, specific projects that he's working on. But then it's right, like so that's, in that sense, it's more of an advisory, as needed kind of meeting. And that's sort of why we landed in the place, would it be better formatted, just to schedule as needed? I think quarterly is a good option. I mean, whatever you all decide is fine. I think quarterly, that's every 3 months. And then if we need to call one in between, that's easy. I mean, honestly, the administrative work, other than scheduling, I'm respectful of the fact that, you have to block off times in your calendars. But just from the administrative perspective, between canceling a meeting and scheduling a meeting and the work that goes into that, it's the same. So, I don't have a preference from that perspective, but appreciate the fact that you need to, be able to plan your calendars and.
Yeah, I think I'd say we go with quarterly then. And again, if the work arises, then we change the cadence or we go to subgroups, and I think that way the meetings will be more hopefully more fruitful. And again, like you said, we don't want to create work. We want to be a value add.
Yeah, and there should be nothing preventing us from changing that cadence should things change.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you change your mind and there's, a ton of work that pops up, we can even schedule, even if they're considered special meetings, we can schedule them ahead. So if we know we get halfway through next calendar year and we realize we probably need monthly meetings, we can go ahead and schedule those ahead of time. There's nothing precluding us from doing that, like you said.
Well, I have another question, because I believe everybody has to re-up soon. Is that true, Melissa?
Yes. So your terms, and that was part B of this conversation, is I will send out an email after this meeting asking you all to just reply to myself and to Evan as to your interest in continuing, because your terms do follow the Board of Selectmen terms, which is up in December. So we'll have to see,
Yeah. So my point there is I wouldn't want to see somebody not re-up because they're not, I would want to see people re-up regardless of the, if we change to quarterly and someone says, I don't feel as needed as I should be, that I'm not going to sign up again. We don't want to lose people because of that, right? If it makes it easier for you to be on the committee, that's good too. Because it is a good group that we have, there's a lot of knowledge here. So that would just be my other thing is if somebody's going to say, there's not enough work, I'm not going to re-up, that's another consideration. But that's all up to everybody individually. So
I don't think that if I'm reading the room, I don't think that anybody here is going to go jump ship if we move to bi-monthly, a quarterly, or an as-needed basis, right? I mean, everybody's here and wants to do something, right? That's why we're all involved. And again, I wonder if there is stuff that we should be doing. That's where I keep getting stuck on this part of this conversation. Is we're absolutely. We've always had something, right? I mean, originally this started because we were struggling with our website, right? And so the first major project that we did as a task force was we worked on our town website, right? And so we were guinea pigs and researchers, and we did all kinds of fun stuff. Editing, we provided a good chunk of work, and it was fruitful, right? I mean, the town website's a pretty awesome tool for our residents.
Is that almost a question that should go back to the selectmen to see if there is something they would want us to do?
I go back to, should we be reflecting on, sure, but we're supposed to be the technology experts, right? Should we be providing them with a list of things that potentially they want us to work on, right? And have them help us prioritize. Yeah. If there is anything, right? I mean,
I just want to make sure that we're also not making work for Rick, because I think sometimes he feels that after a meeting, he ends up with, tasks that he doesn't have time to do. And I want to make sure we're taking things off his plate and not putting things on his plate.
Yeah, I agree with that. Unless it needs to be on his plate, right? I mean, we identify something that is of a concern or a need or whatever, that's our role.
True. So pulling this back, it sounds like we were okay with either quarterly or bi-monthly. I'm not sure which one we landed on. Quarterly would be every 3 months. Bi-monthly would be every other month. I believe Rick was proposing quarterly, and I was okay with that. Any objections to quarterly?
No.
I was going to make a suggestion. And Melissa, you could tell me if this is legit, I guess. So we're meeting, this is October. If we were to set up our first, I know it's really not quarterly, but a first quarterly meeting for December, when we'll have everybody who's signed up to come back will be back on, right? So that would be the first meeting to see where we're going for the next 2 years. Is that a better time to decide and finalize the quarterly schedule? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
We don't have to file our regular meeting agendas, our regular meeting schedule for the next calendar year until the end of January. So you have time to actually set your regular meeting calendar.
So I was going to, and I'm not a voting member here. So I was thinking, we canceled the November meeting. We have the December meeting when everybody who's re-upped will be here, correct? And then at that meeting, can we plan this calendar with Rick there, hopefully, for the next year? And if it's quarterly, then we go to quarterly and we figure out how we're going to navigate that.
Yeah, we go on a calendar year, so we already do have a regular December meeting on the calendar. Let me see.
Right.
Although that might conflict with when it's scheduled for December 6th. Which is actually the day the term ends. So technically the new task force wouldn't be meeting until the next meeting.
Okay.
And that depends on when the Board of Selectmen formally does the appointments, but it's not an issue to continue meeting.
My read of the room, again, using that cheesy phrase, is everybody's comfortable with, a quarterly format, and we just make it effective January 1. And, we roll forward with that, and we have a November meeting on the books. And if there's nothing to talk about, well, then we're pulling that one off the books. And yeah, Wendy, to your point, we already have a December meeting on the schedule, so that's an opportunity for us to discuss the format any further if we need to, and if we want Rick to weigh in. But it sounds like Rick has already weighed in and he's looking for quarterly, and that's not the first time that has come up, right? I mean, Rick's a busy guy. I get that. He's a two-man shop and supports a very large number of devices and a very large number of people with a very limited staff, which is pretty amazing. So I totally understand where he's coming from and asking for, trying to claw some time back, especially when this is, technically after his day's already ended. Same with Melissa for that fact.
So what I'm hearing is we're going to recommend starting the quarterly meetings January 1, based on knowledge to date. Is that what I'm hearing?
Sounds like it.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Anyone want to make a motion?
So
I'll go for it.
Okay, I'll second. So I think that all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, all opposed? I think the ayes have it. So I think we're good there. And then I think the last item, once again, was the re-up. And Melissa, I'm not sure what we need to do other than reply to the email that we're still interested.
Yeah, that's basically it. Once we know, who's interested and who's not interested in continuing, we will have, there's many boards and commissions that have, that are coterminous with the Board of Selectmen. So they typically try to do them all together. I think it's usually at their January meeting, but I'll have to see when they'll officially do their reappointments. But that's it. Once we know who wants to be reappointed, we'll just have the Board of Selectmen take that action.
Now, I know there were other people who applied to be part of the committee. When do we review those, or do we look at the total number of seats, determine how many seats we should have, and then what seats should be filled by the applicants?
Yeah, this would be very good timing to revisit the applications that we had received. I think it was right before COVID hit that we had posted the vacancies, I believe. So we can go back and look at that list and even start with those people who had already applied, and based on the number of vacancies that we know we'll have, we can like I said, that'll be good timing since the new term is starting. So
that's good timing. Okay, great. So any other business anyone would like to bring up?
Well, there's another agenda item, Mr. Chairman, and that's the annual report to the Board of
Annual
Selectmen.
report. That's right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so if you'll recall, we did we finally put together, official, rules of procedure for this group a year ago, and we included in there a little piece that I almost forgot about, but it says on or before November 30th of each year, the task force shall prepare and submit to the Board of Selectmen an annual report of its activities and goals for the upcoming year. So I took the liberty of just drafting something for feedback from you all. I was thinking we would add just a couple of sentences to the bottom just to say what our plan for 2022 is. And that's when we can just update them on the quarterly format and, meeting as needed based on projects.
The only question I have, and it's curiosity more than anything else, did the incident response stuff that was going to be done as a tabletop exercise, did that happen?
No, I think that's, obviously something that public safety is still interested in coordinating, I think just due to COVID and challenges with getting something
Okay.
scheduled. But yeah, definitely wanted to include that in there because I think that's something that this group would definitely be a part of.
Yeah, I think adding our plan would be appropriate.
Do that. Any other thoughts on it? Did I miss anything?
I thought the annual report read well.
Right.
Do we need to approve it or we just,
Yeah, if there's general consensus that you're comfortable with it, we'll go with this with the understanding that a lot of couple sentences about the plan for 2022, and then this will be it.
Sounds good.
Make a motion, we send it.
I'll second.
Thank you.
so any other items that anyone wants to bring up before we adjourn? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn, Mr. Chairman. This is Michael.
Yep. Second?
I think I heard Bill.
I'll second
Great. Thank you.
it. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Have a great month
Thank you.
and we'll see you next month.